What's up? What's up? So it's your boy Domuto. We're back with another video today. We're watching JxmyHighroller, and today we're watching. I changed my mind on the debate. What debate you talking about? You talking about LeBron and MJ? What debate you talking about? You done with the 90s? You know what I'm saying? Let's get into it.
After years of judging, critiquing, hating on some of your hot takes, today I'm gonna share some of mine. It is only fair, after all, that if I put others' opinions up for debate, contention, ridicule, that I do the same for myself. Because like you, I too am just a guy who has a few takes and opinions that I wouldn't dare say out loud in fear of having my ball knowledge put into question. But today, I'm gonna do just that. So here are my NBA hot takes. Today's video is sponsored by DraftKings.
Come on, bro.
The NBA season is heating up,
and
that means
mouse.
bigger plays and even bigger wins. And I'm teaming up with DraftKings to bring you a $5 teams, era, years, Kings Pick 6.
Alright, get up out of here.
In preparation for this video, I thought about some of the opinions I've had over the years about players, teams, eras, opinions that I know are probably subjective and completely false, but I usually try to stay as objective and non-biased as I can. Do my research, refer to film, gather consensus when necessary. But in this video, I'm doing none of that, and instead sharing with y'all 5 of my NBA hot takes. Alright, so my first hot take is kind of hard to admit. I almost don't even want to say it out loud, but I'm going to. Tim Duncan has become overrated. Now, before you bring out the torches, hear me out. When Tim Duncan was playing, there were maybe a few seasons throughout his 19-year career where he was considered the best player in the world. No one ever thought he was better than Shaq in his prime. Many fans at the time argued that KG had a higher peak than him, although I would disagree with this. And in the moment, for a good decade or so, you would be in the minority if you thought Tim Duncan was a better basketball player than Kobe Bryant. By the time Duncan retired, he was very underrated. Most fans had him.
I feel like what hurts Duncan is he's not flashy. I feel like every other player is pretty more flashy. I think people that other power forward, let's say Charles Barkley. I say Tim Duncan's better than Charles Barkley and Karl Malone, but they were more flashy player. They're gonna dunk on you, take it coast to coast. KG probably more flashy, more show you more skills, dribble the ball more. Tim Duncan, he's more. He gonna get to his spot. Saying turn around jumper. He wasn't flashy. He played for the Spurs, so he mainly always had a good 15, team around him.
Maybe just outside the top 10 greatest players
of
all
a few
time.
Years.
But miraculously, over the past 5 years or so, Timmy has creeped from 15th to 13th to top 10 to where he probably should be, somewhere around 7, to now all the way within people's top 5, even top 3 players.
We're putting Tim Duncan in top 5.
And this isn't just a small community of Tim Duncan advocates pushing this propaganda. I'm seeing Duncan floating anywhere from top 5 to top 3 all time for a lot of fans these days. Even people claiming he may just be the greatest basketball player of all time. Guys, Tim Duncan was incredible, the best power forward of all time.
Right.
He is not one of the 5 greatest players ever, let alone the GOAT. And I think what's probably happening here is younger, or maybe newer fans of the NBA are looking at his accolades and accomplishments and comparing them side by side to other greats and saying, wow, this guy really did a lot, and his resume is better than just about anyone ever. But if you watched Duncan's career unfold in real time, you would have felt the impact he had on the league and on the Spurs, but you would have also felt the massive role that the Spurs system and Popovich's coaching excellence played on Duncan. He was unbelievably consistent. He was a defensive juggernaut. He was a leader. But Duncan was also the beneficiary of the most competent organization in the league that prioritized team ball and continuity. From Hall of Fame teammates he played with for the majority of his career to all-time greats that played big roles in helping the Spurs win championships,
not his fault, though.
Duncan was always surrounded by winning culture and winning teammates. This is by no means a knock on him. In fact,
that's not a knock on him because, Michael Jordan couldn't tell Michael Jordan got a what's that coach name? Fuck. Y'all know the coach. God damn it. I can't. Phil Jackson. Until Michael Jordan got Phil Jackson, that nigga wasn't winning shit. That nigga, did he go to the second round without Phil Jackson? That nigga was a first round exit without Phil Jackson. You know what I'm saying? Tim Duncan just happened to get drafted to a team like Greg Pop. Greg Pop wasn't a proven coach. Was not a proven coach when before Tim Duncan got there. When Greg Pop, so Greg Pop was an assistant coach or something like that for a while before Tim Duncan got there. He became a head coach, and then yeah, Greg Pop just happened to be a good coach when Tim Duncan got there. You know, he had David Robinson. He also had a competent team. I mean, people say his team was always good. Please name 5 players besides Tim Duncan on that 99 team. I'll wait. I can only name like 2, maybe 3. What? Avery Johnson, Duncan, David Robinson, Vinny Del Negro. Only because those 2 was coaches. I can't think of another. Who else? You know what I'm saying? You know, name 5. Well, you probably name 5 on 03, but you know, y'all get what I'm trying to say.
In fact, he was a big reason why the Spurs were so cohesive. But only in retrospect would you look at his laundry list of accomplishments and neglect all of the details that came with it. For many years, the Spurs as a team and organization were seen as this staple of excellence more than Tim Duncan was as an individual. It wasn't Duncan and the Spurs. It was just the Spurs. They were one and the same, not this pretty good team with a fantastically great player on it. But if you just look at his resume, you wouldn't know that. You could argue Duncan had maybe a top 3 career in NBA history, but as a player, he's just not on the same tier as Jordan or LeBron or.
And plus, I feel like I feel like people that probably like think probably maybe underrate Tim Duncan. They probably overrate his teammates. Only player that I feel like on this team that he played throughout of course, David Robinson, because he's a proven player, but David Robinson was pretty old, so he probably he wasn't all the way there, especially in 03. 99, he probably was still good. 03, Tony Parker, of course, he's a great player. Manu was good. He wasn't a great player. He was a good player. I feel like people overrate Manu. I think people think of Manu in like a different light of like just this great ass player, but he was a good player. That was it. A good player, you know. There was times when Tim Duncan and Tony Parker was out, and Manu had the team on his own, and he wasn't doing shit. You know what I'm saying? You can't, you know. And then in the later years, they're probably like, oh, Kawhi wasn't doing all this shit when they won that 5th ring. Kawhi wasn't, you know.
Kareem. I don't
Kawhi
know
wasn't the Kawhi
after
now.
He retired, he has slowly crept past Shaq and Bird and Russell and even Magic for some people. Duncan is one of my all-time favorite players, but he is not a top 5 player in NBA history. And it's odd to see a player who was so underrated for so many years become slightly overrated today. Now, I'd like to think of myself as sort of a board member, an executive within the organization of LeBron fans and Glazers. So this next take pains me to say, but LeBron has sabotaged many good situations throughout his time in the NBA, and his career as a whole has suffered because of it.
Damn.
We all know that LeBron has been held back by some bad front offices, selfish teammates, terrible roster constructions, but what doesn't get talked about enough is how he has gone out of his way to try to make good situations better and has inadvertently ended up just ruining things for himself in the process. Like in 2014, when he decided to sign with the Cavs instead of staying with the Heat. Why did he do that? Well, we all know why. The Heat were getting old, Wade was past his prime, and the Cavaliers had the cap space and a budding young star in Kyrie Irving to help reel Bron back to Cleveland. This decision eventually led to a championship, but what if he just stayed with the Heat? With Pat Riley and Spoelstra, where there's culture and accountability, I imagine his career would have played out even better considering where the Heat are today.
Maybe.
Or what about when the Cavs went to back-to-back finals in 2016 and 2017, but since LeBron didn't feel they had enough to win it all, he orchestrated an entire implosion of their roster, which ended up being vastly worse, and then just left them again once things were beyond repair. Or most recently, when the Lakers won a championship in 2020, and instead of reloading with the same roster, the Lakers returned with a whole new team just 2 seasons later. These decisions do not happen without LeBron's okay. Throughout his career,
I feel like you can blame LeBron on that because, of course, LeBron is the leader of the team. I'm pretty sure. I'm not gonna sit here and act like LeBron don't have no say so and who gets on his team. Like, y'all need to stop that. Like, he does have say so. Like, it's LeBron James. But at the end of the day, Pelinka got to make that move. Pelinka got to be like, oh well, let's get Russell Westbrook on the team. You know what I'm saying? People, like, players do have a lot of power. Like, I don't feel like people think players don't have a lot of power. Like, LeBron can tell Pelinka, like, oh well, if you don't get Westbrook on this team, I'm gonna see about this new contract. I might not resign then. You know what I'm saying? Some shit like that.
He has been so quick to want more, want something better.
Players
and he
can
can't wait
easily.
around for it to happen organically,
Especially
so he tries
like
to
LeBron
force these
level.
things to happen. And when it doesn't work out, which it hasn't worked out a lot, the organization, the coaching staff, and even his own teammates end up taking the fall. As great as he is, LeBron has tried.
Like Shaquille O'Neal told the Magic, like, if you don't draft Penny Hardaway instead of Chris Webber, I'm leaving. I might think about leaving. Even though he left anyway. You know what I'm saying? Which is fucked up. But yeah, and guess what? Guess what they did? They got Penny Hardaway. You know what I'm saying?
Tried to play GM way too often in his career, and when he can't or he's out of options, he just moves on to the next new shiny thing. If he just stayed with the Heat or stayed with the Cavs or allowed rosters to build chemistry and young players to develop naturally
also
over
say
time,
that
I think
would
his
he still
career
be good?
and the perception of it would probably be better right now. LeBron has willed his way to some of the greatest feats the sport has ever seen, but he has also sabotaged a lot of good things along the way. Now, here's a hot take for you, and I don't care if I'm wrong.
Why would the
corner
Heat
three
sign a Jimmy
is
Butler
not the
with LeBron?
easiest three-point shot. For years,
The closest.
everyone has said the corner
That's
three
it.
is easier than any three-pointer, and so there's an advantage to be had there if you use them right. I wholeheartedly
I think it's the
disagree.
wing.
In the NBA, sure, the corner three is shorter than
Out
on
of
the
just
wing
me
or at
playing
the top of the
basketball
key.
myself, I think the
But if
wing
you
is the
play ball,
easiest shot.
you know this shot is as scuffed
The
as
easiest
it
three-point
gets.
shot.
When you're looking at the hoop straight on, you just have a wider margin of error. You can shoot long and bank it in. You have a better perception of depth since you're looking at the backboard. It
Of
may
course,
just be
yeah,
psychological,
top of the key, yeah,
but whatever it is, you cannot convince me that this shot is easier than this shot. According to NBA.com, this season the league as a whole is shooting 39% from corner threes, whereas above the break, teams are shooting 36.1%
not much
on
better.
average. Now, that's a substantial difference in efficiency from these two different shooting zones, and it would lead you to believe the corner three is easier. But I think shooting percentage is higher on corner threes than threes above the break for two reasons. One, the best shooters in the league, the guys who are on NBA rosters to drill a few threes a game, usually spend the most time in the corner. And since most players who set up shop in the corner are sharpshooters, the overall efficiency from corner threes is boosted compared to on the wing or at the top of the key.
Right.
And reason number two, a lot of threes taken above the break are pulled up off of dribbles, players flying off of screens trying to square up and get a good shot off. And many times the players attempting these kinds of threes are the best player on their team, but not the best shooters.
That's a crazy
On the other
side.
hand, corner threes are almost exclusively set shots coming off of passes to a wide open man. The very nature of offenses in the NBA makes these corner threes easier than any other threes because plays are often drawn up to get open looks from here from the best shooters in the
That's a
world,
crazy pass.
shooting set shots with no one contesting. Corner threes, especially those real deep ones where you feel like you're behind the backboard, are not easier than any other
They're definitely not.
three-pointer. Now, I know I'm going to catch some flack for this next take, and that's okay, because in a redraft of every player in NBA history just after their rookie season, I would pick Victor Wembanyama first overall. You might say this is just recency bias, you may think I'm crazy, and you're probably right, but Wemby would
Wow.
be my first pick. His progression, his poise, his confidence, his skill set, his potential. If you lined up every great player since the inception of the NBA, and if we're just going off of what we've seen from them in their rookie season, I would pick the kid in San Antonio. Now, my answer may be different if I were to pick anyone before they played in an NBA game. Maybe it's LeBron or Kareem, but based on what we know so far, give me the
That's crazy.
7'4" alien. Wemby can do everything on the court. He's got the offensive skills, the defensive ability, and willingness. From what has been said about him, he is like a sponge with information. He's learning exceptionally fast on the court. And I think what's just as impressive as his physical tools, the kid is not afraid of the moment. He isn't timid, he can talk trash and take it too. He's got heart, and you can tell he really loves the game. Now, I think some players who are up there with him for the first overall pick in a redraft post-rookie season might be Shaq, Kareem, MJ. Duncan was incredible as a rookie, maybe Hakeem. Overall, their numbers are about equally as impressive. But the thing that stands out about Victor is that he's doing this at 19, 20 years old on a minutes restriction. He's already an elite two-way player, possibly even the best defensive player in the entire league.
3.4 blocks is
and
crazy. I ain't know Shaq would average 3.5.
Playing in an era where he is allowed to develop a well-rounded offensive game from the post all the way out to the perimeter, something that Shaq, Hakeem, and Kareem never had. The improvements he's made from his first game this season to now are already so massive that his progress alone really makes him stand out even amongst the greatest rookies ever. And quite frankly, I never witnessed these other players play in their rookie seasons. I wasn't there to see it in real time. And of all the rookies I have seen over the last 15 years or so, Wembanyama is way ahead of all of them. Is this a terrible argument to make here? Sure. Does that change my pick?
Especially the last 15 years. I
If you
give
can
him
ignore
that.
what we know about these players outside of their first season in the league, and if you had to choose one of them, I think Wemby would go first overall. At least for me, he would. By the time these other players came into the league, they were already relatively polished. Jordan was still pretty raw, and LeBron was playing off of sheer athleticism. But Wemby is having one of the greatest rookie seasons ever, and just by watching him, you can tell he's still just learning how to play in the NBA. So not only is he already incredible, he's just barely scratching the surface of his potential. Now, can this take come back to bite me in the
2K
ass?
about to get ruined.
It sure can, but I don't care. If I could choose any player in NBA history based off of their rookie season and their potential and trajectory, I'm picking Victor.
It's gonna be a starting five of niggas built like Wemby, bro. I'm tired. Bruh. It's about to be a starting five of niggas built like Wemby that can shoot, dribble like fucking Kyrie, shoot like Curry, and also block every fucking. It's gonna be fucking terrible. 2K gonna be unplayable.
Now, I don't know if this last take is even a hot one anymore, but it needs to be said. The 2017 Warriors are by far the best NBA team ever.
Warriors?
Not just the best team assembled, not the best team on paper. They are, by a pretty wide margin, the best, most cohesive team in NBA history. Over the years, people will argue that the 96 Bulls were better, or the 2000 Lakers, or if they're really out of their mind, they'll say the 86 Celtics. But no, the 2017 Warriors would dog walk any team you put in front of them. They were so good that it pissed people off. They were so good that everyone unanimously agreed that it wasn't even fair. It's been long enough now that the painful hopelessness that this team inflicted upon NBA fans around the world has subsided. But I'm sure we can all still remember just how overwhelming this team was. They made really good teams look incompetent. I mean, they had everything. Arguably the greatest player in the world at the time, the greatest shooter ever at the peak of his powers, the most versatile defender in the league, arguably the second greatest shooter ever, and somehow still managed to have a very solid, well-rounded bench. And not only did they have the most talent, but all of that talent worked really well together. All of their skill sets and intentions meshed about as well as a team could. So not only were they the most loaded team in NBA history, they all bought in, and they all just wanted to win. So I not only think they're the best team ever, I don't even think it's close. Pick any other team to go against them, specifically the 2017 version of the Warriors, and the opposing team would be lucky to sneak one, maybe 2 wins in a 7-game series. And those are 5 of my NBA hot takes. Hopefully I didn't alienate every NBA fan throughout this process. I just think it's only fair that after sitting on my high horse and judging everyone else's takes, I share a few of my own. So please go easy on me. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Corner 3 suck, and as always, until next time.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I'm curious about that one. I am curious about that one. 2017 Warriors. I can't. Yeah. Well, people might say like the 0-1 Lakers because of Shaq, because they'll be like, oh, well, Shaq is just bully everybody on the team in the paint. That is true. That is true. But what the most points you gonna get? Like, you don't do that every play. You don't do that every time you get down court. You know what I'm saying? Shaq gonna get exhausted eventually. And how many points can Shaq get? You know what I'm saying? Until, you know, when Curry and KD hitting threes, like, yeah, Shaq is hitting consistent twos, but like you got Curry, KD, and Clay hitting like, you know, let's say fucking 6 threes each on a good day. That's just a regular day. That's you know. So I don't know. And they getting open shots because you can't guard them all. Like you said, 0-1 Lakers. Like Rick Fox. What is Rick Fox doing against KD? Nothing. Kobe probably had to guard Curry or KD and have somebody else guard Clay. And Kobe's not. 0-1 Kobe is not guarding KD or Curry. I feel like he got better in the mid 2000s on defense, but he might be. But he. I don't know. That's tough. I don't know. Damn, that's tough. Anyway, shout out to JxmyHighroller for this video. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Check out the last JxmyHighroller video right here. Check out another video right here. And I'll catch you next time. Peace.